Jarod speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving.
Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the 7-Footers podcast. All you have to do is sign up now and use the promo code 7Footer, and Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Yep, that's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today.
Seven Footers crew, what is going on? We are still in the nitty gritty of the NBA playoffs, and it's getting chippy out here, Jarod.
It is conference finals time, right? I mean, it's the Final Four. You get down to this stage. You know, we always celebrate the champions, Jenna, and rightfully so. But I say this all the time, and it's important that we do this. Like, celebrate the Final Four. Like, it is extremely hard to win in this league. Very, very difficult. The vast majority of players will never play in a conference finals, much less an NBA finals. Okay, so the teams that make it here, you got to give them their props.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys in their career that they're not even going to taste this energy and this adrenaline of this far in the postseason. So, let alone, I mean, getting to the postseason. Like, I mean, where are the Orlando Magic?
Damn. Magic catching all the strays.
Magic, right. Hey, we had to talk about them at some point. So, but let's talk about what's going on right now in the association, because honestly, if I was an extreme bettor, which I'm not, I would have taken the Bucks and the Suns in these last semifinals. So it's just crazy out here, in my opinion. I mean, we got a good matchup here, a 2020 East Finals matchup in the Heat and the Celtics going at it. But let's talk about that series before that and talk about Boston and Milwaukee, because Milwaukee was just kind of lost in this last game here, and shots weren't going down for Giannis. I mean, although he did have a double-double, I mean, 20 boards, insane. But talk to me about what went wrong with the Bucks, aside from the fact that they didn't have Chris Middleton.
I mean, that's a big part of it, right? They went up against the best defense that they've faced thus far. And look, the Celtics are incredible defensively, and they have more offensive versatility, right? For the Bucks, if Giannis wasn't doing everything, where were they getting offense from? Drew Holiday wasn't really it. Pat Connaughton played 32 minutes in Game 7, scored 3 points. I mean, you can't have guys that occupy that many minutes not contribute that enough on offense, right? Giannis cannot do it alone. And you saw the value of Chris Middleton being missed in this postseason, right? He is their second best player. So when they need to get into offense, into isolation late, he's someone they could use and say, okay, get us a bucket, right? Giannis is the only one who can do that. Drew Holiday, kind of so-so. That's not really his full game, right? So I think you saw that. And, you know, defensively, you saw Mike Budenholzer's strategy, which, you know, a lot of people are lambasting him for this idea of packing the paint and letting Grant Williams shoot wide open threes. And it's like, look, if they did something else, they probably would have lost. But in a Game 7, you got to be like, Bud, look, man, I get this is your strategy. I know this is what you want to do, but it's Game 7. So if you lose, you go home. There is no Game 8 to like, all right, let's try something different, right? So you see that Grant Williams all of a sudden is hitting shots. At some point, you got to be like, okay, our season's on the line here. Let's try to do something a little bit different, see if they could steal us something, see if we can throw them off rhythm for a little bit, get ourselves back into this game. But ultimately, without Middleton, Jenna, I don't think it would have mattered. I just think that the Celtics were the superior team. You know, again, when you're down your second best player, it's going to be hard to overcome when you're playing a team like Boston, which is the best defense in the NBA.
Damn. I mean, like, I want to be a fly on the wall and see what Ime Udoka is doing here or what he has cooked up for them because their defense is just incredible. I mean, it's one of the best defenses I've seen, watching the game in a minute. I mean, again, not comparing to, all, the past, but I mean, that team, and plus we always talk about this too, the Celtics, their height, their length. I mean, they're massive on the perimeter, especially with that duo in Tatum and Brown. So, I mean, hey, no match for them. Plus, Grant Williams, breakout star of this series. I mean, he had a career high, like 27 points in the last game. So, he's been really helping them. Robert Williams becoming available here and there. So, I mean, they've lucked out too, but they are going to go into this Heat series with a little bit of injury, a little bit of protocol mix in there. Talk to me about, the present day here.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We just got word right before as we're recording this now. Al Horford is in health and safety protocols for the Boston Celtics, and that's huge. Now Robert Williams is available, so they're going to need him because not having Al is going to be big, and Al's not there because he's anti-vax. Which I mean, my guy, like you're trying to win a title here. We ain't got no time for this bullshit. Like. Get yourself together, man. Could you imagine if they go down 0-2 because Horford's out and what Shams is reporting or Woj is reporting, is that the Celtics are preparing for the fact that he may not be available for the first 2 games. They go down 0-2. I mean, it's like, what do we? I mean, this is again. We just talked about in the opening, Jenna, how difficult it is to win in this league. Ain't no guarantees y'all coming back here next year. Like,
heck no.
This may be your best opportunity. What are you doing? We talk about this all the time, right? To win, you have to be very good and you need luck. So why are you going to add things to the equation that's going to ruin your luck, right? Like, this is something you actively chose to do that could potentially derail your team's chances. Like,
100%.
That's just dumb. That's just dumb.
You could have said it better. I mean, Al Horford, especially. Well, first of all, some would argue. I'm not. I'm just saying some would argue you need Al Horford to save your series. But hey, again, not my words. Not my words. I'm just here speaking for the people who can't speak on the camera. So anyway, besides the point. But I mean, again, you nailed it on the head there. The league is only getting better, and it's going to be better next year. Mm-hmm. So again, you don't know if you're going to be back here. I mean, you're lucky that you're here right now. No offense, but and Al Horford. I mean, no offense, you're not getting any younger. So your time is now. I mean, I'd go get the double jab like immediately.
every. I mean, that's the thing.
The Larry's on the line. Damn it.
Your best chance is always the present when you're here because you know, not to be cliche, but tomorrow isn't promised. We have no idea what next, but it's true though.
I know, but just the way you said it kills me.
We have no idea what's going to happen next season. Zero. The way they're playing right now, they have a legitimate chance. The Celtics, according to 538, are the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. Oh man, why are we jeopardizing that? Okay, so you got that going on the Heat side. Kyle Lowry is still out, but Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they're available to play. PJ Tucker. Look, Jenna, we talked about this in our gambling segment. This is going to be the rock fight of all rock fights. Like, we're talking like 90s style. All you old heads, I mean, and whatever, like I'm an old head too, who love those 90s 78-70 final scores. Like, this may be the series for you. Like, I just, it might get to that grinding halt because these two teams can play elite level defense. And, I think ultimately the Celtics have a little bit more in terms of, we talk about apex predator wings, right? And that's like kind of what you need in this league to succeed. Your Giannis's, Jason Tatum's, Luka's, like, right? These big, like super tall, strong guys who could score at all 3 levels. Well, the Celtics have 2 of those in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Heat only have 1 in Jimmy Butler. And again, I just think that this will be a level of defense that the Heat have not seen, because let's be real, 76ers weren't playing that kind of defense. Neither were the Atlanta Hawks. Now, that could be all good for Miami because coming into this series, they may be the least beat up on physically, right? Because they didn't have to grind against the Milwaukee Bucks in 7 games. But be that as it may, they're going to have to ramp up and ratchet up their defensive intensity, because the last series the Celtics played against the Bucks, those two teams played NBA Finals level defense. The Heat are going to have to raise their intensity.
100%. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. And Marcus Smart, he's out, correct?
Yes. Yes, that just came down as well. Smart sprained ankle, I believe. So
it's the dreaded ankle. I hate a postseason ankle.
Yeah.
It just never goes away.
Yeah. Or right mid-foot sprain is technically being called.
Oh.
So yeah. So look, no Horford, no Smart. I mean, I already told you in the betting show, take the Heat tonight. That's looking pretty good right now, because now, again, they still have Tatum and Brown, but Horford and Smart are so integral, not just what they do defensively, but both of them offensively, because Smart is a third player who can create offense, and Al Horford, we know what he can do, knocking down threes, shooting 50% from deep in the postseason.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. Going to be a dogfight for sure. Again, we always say this too. You don't want to go up against the Heat in the postseason.
No, and
that energy.
No, and on the Heat side, Jenna, why I liked the Heat also is because of that 4-game rest they had. Right, they just defeated the 76ers last Thursday, so they had a little bit more time to rest. Coach Spo had a little bit more time to scheme up and figure out, okay, how are we going to best attack this Boston Celtics defense? And again, now without Smart and Horford, that's at least for one game, possibly two for Horford. This could, again, what did I just say? I say you have to be very good and you need luck. Well, look what's happening now for the Heat. Some things are luckily breaking in their favor. Like people don't understand, because it goes against how our brains work. We're just like, no, this team's just better. And it's like, yes, everyone now is in this round is good. All 4 teams left are very good. It's going to matter about how the luck breaks for which teams, right? And starting out this series, the luck is breaking in Miami's favor.
But why is it that not we, as in,
the collective we, yes.
The collective we just don't believe in the Heat? Why is it that we put the Heat down immediately for some reason? It's like we just don't know. We don't want to be sold on the Heat for some reason. I don't get it. I mean, Big Face Coffee is on the private jet.
Well, first off, shout out to Jimmy Butler. If we were doing a playoff all NBA team, right? So the 5 best players in thus far throughout the playoffs, it would be Giannis, Luka, Jimmy Butler, and Luka. I say Luka and Jason Tatum. Those would be 4 of the 5 best guys, and I guess you put Steph Curry as number 5. Jimmy Butler has been that good. He has been excellent this postseason. You know what Draymond Green always talks about? You got 82-game players, and you got 16-game players, right? Jimmy Butler is clearly a 16-game player, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can raise and amp up his level when the situation matters the most. He doesn't get nervous, doesn't get tight. Now, that doesn't mean he's perfect and not going to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes in games, but he has a knack about him that the stage isn't too big, the lights aren't too bright. Nothing's going to phase him or shake him in these moments. Now, what the average fan probably doesn't see with Miami is, well, they kind of maybe have heard of Jimmy Butler, but they don't really know anybody else on that team, right? It's like, I don't know these other guys. Whereas if you look at the Boston Celtics, I've heard of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Look at the Warriors. I know about Steph and Draymond and Clay, right? If you're about the Mavericks, I know that Luka Doncic guy, right? Like they don't have a bunch of the household names, although Bam Adebayo is excellent, an excellent player. Tyler Hero, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, but those guys aren't really household names, but in this series, they could turn into that. Now, the deep basketball nerds like us who watch a lot, why some of us probably aren't sold on the Heat, Jenna, is because we're worried about their offensive execution. Right? Like in a game where points are going to be hard to come by, besides Jimmy, who's going to get me a bucket when I need it? Okay, Tyler Hero. All right, but I could stick Marcus Smart on him, right? I could stick Tatum or Brown on him. It's going to be tough, right? Who else on Miami is going to be doing things, right? It's going to be able to get us buckets and find different ways to score. Again, I just feel like Boston has more offensive diversity. Now, if the Heat take dust off Duncan Robinson from the shelf, well, you know what that means. While he's an excellent shooter, he's a liability defensively, and the Celtics will hunt him out, right? And try to get him in favorable matchups. And so this is the cat and mouse game you play in the playoffs, right? And I always say this, Jen, and you know it. whatever your weakness is in the playoffs gets exposed in such a there is a predatory way in which teams, when they know what their opponent's weakness is, they hunt it out every single time, forcing you to do something different. Take that weakness off the floor, scheme something different, because we're going to attack it every single time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, and that's when you see a little bit, and I'm not talking about Steph Curry or anybody on that level. That's when you see like certain guys who are filling the box score every single night. They're showing out, but then when they get into the postseason, they're completely shut down. So it's really interesting to see how people evolve their game in that way. Going to be super, super interesting. I meant to tell you, you mentioned the Hawks. I saw a meme the other day, and it was like a side-by-side of Luka and Trey. And it was like, and it was after, Luka's been shown out in the postseason. So it was after a big game one night, and the caption was, "Don't try to act like this trade was unfair anymore," and like all this shit. It was just so funny. I thought you would have loved it.
Well, it's great. I mean, looking at that, like, again, as I've said in the past, try to tell Atlanta they made the bad choice by trading Luka for Trey. They'll say no, right? They made the conference finals last year. So, and Trey's shown that he's an elite offensive player. So they feel good about their pick. Dallas feels great about their pick as well. Luka, not only is this the first year he's advanced past the first round, he went all the way to the conference finals and could go to the NBA finals, right? I mean, so everyone is happy with whom they selected in who they ended up with in this situation. But forever, because this is what our human brains like to do, we're going to compare them for the rest of their careers, because that's just what we do.
Oh yeah, of course. You know how that's going to go. Last note on that Heat Celtics matchup. Speaking of doubting the Heat, nobody's throwing the coaching matchup into this. You have an extremely juggernaut in Eric Spoelstra, and then you have Ime Udoka, who, again, not doubting him, he's done incredible things. Look how far they've come, but he's a first or second year head coach.
First year head coach, yeah. But Jenna, I think Ime Udoka is a brilliant X's and O's guy. I think, because you got to remember about, again, and Spo's got the bona fides, right? He's got the championships, he's got the years of experience, he's got the playoff experience about how to make adjustments and all that. Ime's learning it on the fly, but Ime has spent many, many, many years as an assistant. Many years.
True. He was in Brooklyn.
Before that, on the Greg Popovich tree, right? Before that, on the 7. I mean, he has been everywhere. So he has learned from some of the great NBA head coaches. And again, you can see it in the way in which this team executes. They execute. It's not just, rah-rah, and they got no. He draws up stuff and they execute. You saw their defensive strategy against Kevin Durant in round 1. You saw, even though Giannis got his points, he was extremely inefficient in round 2. Like, they have their strategies. And really, Kevin Durant and Giannis offensively are better than anybody on the Heat, right? I mean, as good as Jimmy Butler is, he ain't Kevin Durant offensively, right? So I think that, there's going to be some things that the Heat, that the Celtics are going to be able to do to frustrate Jimmy Butler. And the question is, can their other guys, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, can these other guys who are kind of like, oh, nice stories, can they step up on this big stage? It'll be interesting. It's going to be a fascinating series, Jenna.
It definitely will be. I can't wait. I'm so excited. All right, let's skip over to the West because.
Oh wait, we got to make our predictions. I didn't even predict yet. We got to do our predictions. Got to do our predictions. Look, again, the luck early in the series is already breaking Miami's way. Marcus Smart out game 1. Al Horford health and safety protocols. So I think Miami will win tonight, as I already said in our gambling segment. I think this series goes the distance yet again. 7 games. But I'm going to give the edge to, you know what? I'm going to go 6 games. I say Boston Celtics in 6. There you go. Celtics in 6.
Okay. I'm going Miami in 7.
Home court advantage.
I think this is going to go long. I think the home court advantage plus Spo. And I think that I'm praying that Jimmy Butler has like LeBron James inside of him. And he's going to carry this damn team through. So.
All right. I'm with you. Okay.
That's it. All right. Now, for real, let's skip over to the West and talk about the Suns and Mavericks series, because I mean, there is no other way to say it than the Suns shit the bed in game 7. I mean, this score is out of control. 123-90. The Suns never led, not once. And their 2 star players in their backcourt, not there. Non-factors. I mean, you come out of a game 7, Booker dropped 11 points. He was 3 for 14 from the field. Not okay. Unacceptable. Chris Paul, 10 points, 4 assists. And we know how that goes. I mean, you could talk to Pat Beverly. He'll just put it nicely for you. Actually, not nicely at all.
Right.
But let's talk about this Suns team. I mean, there's one thing about losing in a game 7 at home, but then there's one thing about losing in a game 7 at home and getting blown out. That was not okay on any level. I mean, they're the highest record in the league for most of the season, actually. Yeah, the whole season. And then you have your coach of the year. What happened? Just what happened?
Yeah, Jenna, the Suns picked the worst time ever to have their literally worst game of the season. They're by far
worst.
And I said this during the game. I said it after, and some things have come out to kind of highlight this. First of all, give credit to the Dallas Mavericks. They are an excellent club, and I'm not taking anything away from them. They are not 40 points better than the Phoenix Suns, okay? Now, Monty Williams did not make adjustments the way that Jason Kidd did. And there's a way in which, Jenna, when you win 64 games, you can lull yourself into a false sense of security that, well, what we've done made us the best team in the league all season long. And it's true, right? So why are we going to deviate from that? In fact, Monty said after one of the games they lost in this series, I think it was game 3, he said, we don't want to get too crazy and start changing things up. He's like, we've been successful doing things this way. And that's kind of the gift and the curse of that, right, Jenna? And we talk about it all the time. The regular season and the playoffs are different, okay? In the postseason, you need to have less rigidity and more flexibility as a coach in your game plan. You need to be married to whatever's going to get us the win, not necessarily, well, this is my strategy and this is what we do, blah, 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 blah. And I think the Suns fell victim to that a little bit. The other thing is that clearly, Jenna, there's something going on internally with the Suns, and we saw some stuff come out in after the game. DeAndre Ayton only ended up playing 17 minutes. He took 5 shots. And there was an incident in the third quarter when he was being subbed out where the assistant coaches actually had to get between Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton. And after the game, when Monty was asked, why did DeAndre only play 17 minutes? He said, it's internal. And you could tell he was pissed and didn't want to elaborate. No reporter in the room asked any follow-up questions, so we don't know what's happening. So that makes you think, okay, something went on between Monty and DeAndre. DeAndre didn't get his money to start the season, right?
And he was unhappy about that.
What was going on there? Okay, that's one thing. Booker and Paul were no-shows in this game. And then it came out from the Anscape's Mark Spears that Paul was dealing with a hamstring injury or a quad injury, excuse me. It's just.
But you're not listed on the injury report, so.
There's all these things, right? And again, internally, something is going on there. I imagine some stuff will come to light throughout as this season ends. But the Suns got some looking to do about what they're going to do next season, because this is still the bones of a good team and a team that should be in the NBA Finals. They're going to have to tweak some things. But again, credit to the Dallas Mavericks, and they are marching on, Jenna, to the Western Conference Finals, and it should be a good one.
I mean, Luka, this is going to be the test to see, the level that he can perform at this level. So it's going to be a good one. High level basketball as we get further and further into the playoffs, which is so exciting. So let's talk about the Western Conference Finals, because we have the Warriors going back to their what should I say, their regular vacation spot. And then you got these Mavericks going up against, the vets. So this should be interesting
Yeah.
because, again, I don't doubt Luka whatsoever, but I also know not to play with fire when it comes to the Warriors. I mean, you
Yeah.
have, that decade-long
Mhm.
squad
Mhm.
in Steph, Draymond,
Mhm.
Clay, and then,
Mhm.
of course, the incredible role players, Gary Payton. Hopefully he's well enough to play.
Mhm.
Maybe not. And then
Jordan
you got
Poole.
Jordan
Mhm.
Poole.
Mhm.
So, I mean, and they have a deeper bench as well. So let's talk about this matchup here. I mean, is this, because I see a lot of predictions about, the Warriors are going to go in there, take care of business. Is it as easy as people are making it seem?
No, I don't think so at all. Look, in terms of the knowledge and the ability and the championship know-how and all that, the Warriors have that in spades. The Mavericks have none of it, literally none. But what the Mavericks do have, Jenna, and I want to be clear, they have Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, right now, as of this current playoffs and this current season, particularly the second half of the season, is the best player in this series. Now, historically, Stephen Curry is better, and he could have a better series. But as of today, right now, Luka Doncic is the better player. And when you have the best player in the series, you have a chance to win. Now, Luka, as we all know, as a teenager in the Euro League, was winning MVP of Eurobasket, like dominating a league with grown men. The Euro League, for those that don't know, is the second best basketball league in the world after the NBA. And as a teenager, he was dominating that league. We've watched Luka now on this stage.
A teen.
You can see he doesn't get sped up. He moves at his own pace. He can control the game in a way that very few players can. It is close to LeBron-like, okay, in his ability to manipulate the game, okay?
And the way he makes it look easy. I mean, after every
Yes.
shot, he's laughing like he's
Oh, I mean,
literally
he
like
was-
watching a comedy.
And as the stakes rise, he gets better. Like, if the Mavericks don't win, it won't be because Luka is afraid of the moment. This stage is not too big for him. I mean, you saw him. You said it in Game 7 on the road in Phoenix, laughing after buckets. That's how he was doing. And on a podcast once, he said, "Oh, it's much easier to score 30 in the NBA than it is in the Euro League." And his point was, it's not because the players in the Euro League are better. It's because in the Euro League they play far more physical and aggressive and like foul, whereas those players aren't allowed in the NBA. So that's the point he was making.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I get it. Like I can do this. And by the way, we're seeing it. It's not like he's making it up. We are watching it. We've seen it happen. The other area I'm going to go to here, Jenna, is the Warriors in their series against the Grizzlies. And really all playoffs long, but they've been fortunate by playing against teams that, aren't quite at the level to be able to take advantage of it. The Warriors turn the ball over like nobody's business.
Yes.
And the Dallas Mavericks defense is better than any of the defenses they face. It's better than the Grizzlies defense, and it's better than the Nuggets defense. And Jason Kidd, he has really figured something out and has a cerebral way in which he has defensive strategy in mind. Because remember, Jason Kidd is one of the great point guards of all time. So he's watching the flow of the game and analyzing it as a player and then coming to the board and saying, okay, here's what we got to do, right? And he's making adjustments on the fly. And look, again, they got dogs on that team. Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock. Those are long, rangy guys who can that's going to be guys that Steph and Clay don't want to deal with, right? And Jason
Spencer Dinwiddie's been shown out a little bit there.
Jalen Brunson on the offensive end.
Yeah.
And they're going to do something defensively, I feel, to target Draymond, where they either ignore him completely and do something, right? They're going to, because I think what Jason Kidd's going to want to do is make Draymond a scorer, because that's not what Draymond wants to do.
Right. No.
Draymond wants to do dribble handoffs to Steph, pass it around. Like, I mean, in these playoffs, we've seen him catch the ball in the lane 4 feet from the basket. And instead of just throwing up a little quick floater he's throwing it back out to the 3-point line. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're not letting you do that. We're going to force you to score and because that's not what again, the playoffs are about making your opponent uncomfortable, making them do things they don't want to do. The Warriors want to play a preferred style. Kids will be like, no, I don't want you to play that style. Now, on the Warrior side, all their constant motion and back cutting, that's going to be very different than what the Mavericks have faced all playoffs. Okay. No team moves the way the Warriors do. Steph Curry gives the ball up. He's relocating 17 times. Constant motion. Jordan Poole. It's just everybody racing all around the floor. So the Mavs will have to be disciplined on defense. And they're going to try to hunt Luka on defense for sure. And Jason Kidd, my last series, he called Luka out. He said, look, we need you to play on that end. Give me, when the screen comes, don't die on it. Give me 2 seconds and we'll be behind you, right? Luka's been battling, giving a little bit more than that, right? Taking on that challenge.
Yeah.
Is he ready to take on this next challenge? I think this series is going to be fascinating. And the people that think it's going to be a Warriors walkthrough, Warriors in 4, Warriors in 5, like, I don't see it.
I know, because they have those games where they just completely, I don't know. It seems like they check out. Remember the Grizzlies series? They lost that game when they were like, whoop that trick or whatever the hell.
They lost by 50. And Jenna, also, there's another secret about the Warriors. They haven't played that well this postseason. As a team, they're not shooting well from 3. I think as a team, they're shooting around 36%. What makes the Warriors, when they were champions, so elite was that Steph Curry was a 43% shooter from 3 on volume, on like 12, 13, 14, 15 threes a game. Now, that when he's doing that, well, you ain't winning no games because the math doesn't work. But when you're shooting 14, 15 threes a game like he is now and shooting 36%, that's different. 36% still good, but not 43% good, right? And that difference matters. Again, margins are thin in the postseason. When he's not elite, like 43, like otherworldly, you can beat this team. And look, the Grizzlies could have won that series, right? They could, those first 2 games in Memphis could have been 2-0 Memphis.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So, and game 4, they could have won that game. It's just all those games were there, right? Were there for the taking. And even the game 6 the Warriors won when they pulled away late. Grizzlies were hanging. And again, that was without John Morant. So this should be an interesting tactical series from both coaches, Jason Kidd and Steve Kerr. What does Steve Kerr do? Does he say, all right, you know what? There's a weak spot here. Let's go to our pick and roll game, which he doesn't like to do. He wants to run that motion, everybody moving the ball, all that. We'll see.
We shall see. Again, another good one as we get down the stretch here on our way to the NBA Finals. So let's talk about one last thing here before
we got to predict. We got to predict.
I always do that.
We got to predict. Okay. Look, Warriors have the home court advantage. They have Steph. They have Clay. They have Dre. We know about all that. I just, look, this could be one of those things where it's aligning perfectly. It's like, they get the young team that doesn't know any better. They're not really right for this. But the Mavericks team, while they're inexperienced in terms of being at this round, they're filled with not 20-year-olds. Like, and as young as Luka is, 23, what we talked about his EuroLeague experience. He's 23, but he's like, he might as well be a vet, right? So I don't know, Jenna. Something's telling me, and I hate this cliche team of destiny bullshit. I don't believe in any of that. But I'm gonna roll with Mavericks in 7, man. I like what I'm seeing from Luka. I just think, and I think Jason Kidd's going to have some wrinkles up his sleeve.
Okay, I'm going Warriors in 7. I think it's definitely going 7, but I am not going to go against the Warriors. I can't do it.
Hey, it makes sense.
Oh, Dexter's up in here all complaining.
Warriors in 6. What? Yeah, I think Dexter, like everybody else, is like, Steph, Clay, Dre, they're just too good. Like, and that may end up being the case, but listen, there's something about this Mavericks team. I don't know. And again, that defense, I think they're going to find a way to shut off the Warriors' water. I know Dexter is shocked because there's something about, again, it's as much as it is about how well the Mavericks are playing, it's also about how the Warriors, even though they won the first series in 5 and they beat the Grizzlies in 6, they just haven't played that. They haven't played that elite level of Warriors basketball. I think everyone assumes because, the last time we saw this team in this position, they won the title. It's like, that was 3 years ago. They're a little bit older now. Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Of course. Dexter and I are on the same page, per usual. Nothing changes.
What are you guys on the same page about?
About the Warriors
Oh,
taking the
well, I mean,
series.
he's saying I want revenge for my Grizzly Cups going down. Now, look, I am fine.
The motive.
I am fine. Look, the Grizzlies did their thing. They had an excellent season. They lost their best player. And yeah, look, I think to Dexter's point, like the Mavs can push it, and the Warriors are not the same team. Like, again, everyone just assumes because the main characters are the same, you're like, oh yeah, this is what it is. They're just gonna go back and win it again. And I'm like, they're 3 years older than they were in 2019. And by the way, they didn't win in 2019. Let's remember that. So,
Oh my God, the spice. Oh, love you, Dexter. Okay, let's talk about one last thing before we kick off the conference finals and we go scream at our own TVs. Let's talk about the changing of the guard per se. Jarod, I know you feel strongly about this, how this new generation of players are coming and kind of, bumping the elites out of the way and kind of claiming the league as their own. And when I say that, I mean the Jason Tatums of the world, the Jaylen Browns. I mean, Ja Morant's a tier under there.
Luka Doncic.
So Luka Doncic, of course. Talk to me about the changing of the guard that you are saying is happening right before our very eyes.
Well, you can see it, Jenna, right? Like, think about it. I was looking back at this 5 years ago. The players that made all NBA, of the 15 players that made the 3 all NBA teams, only 5 of those players now have a shot of making any all NBA teams this year. Like, that's a changing of the guard, right? Like, I mean, we are at a different place, and this is no longer the league of LeBron James and Kevin Durant and that generation. Now, that doesn't mean that those players are trash and they can't be excellent. And if things don't break right, they can never win a championship again. It's just going to be extremely difficult. If you look back over the history of this league, Jenna, it is very rare that teams that depend on players in their mid-30s to lead them to big wins in championships are not that successful. It's been proven. Just go back and look. It's the history of this league tells us that when you are in your mid-30s, it is highly unlikely you're going to lead a championship team. That's where, LeBron James is in his late 30s now. Kevin Durant approaching mid-30s. Steph Curry, mid-30s right now. Look, Steph could win a title this year. Like, oh, Jarod, see? All I'm saying is it becomes more difficult as time goes on.
Yeah.
And right now, you're seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. You mentioned Ja Morant, Trae Young, that next group of coming. Listen.
Triple J.
Yeah, I mean, he's just below that. But this is the league now, right? Players in their mid-20s are the ones who start dominating, right? I mean, Giannis, right? Joel Embiid, it's these guys. It's their league now. And it happens to every generation, right? It was Michael's league at one point, and then it wasn't. It was Magic and Larry's league at one point, and it wasn't. Like, this is the natural evolution. You can't be at the top for 100 years. Like, you get old and young guys come up behind you and they are inspired by your greatness, right? All these guys now in their 20s, they watch LeBron and KD and they're like, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. said something funny the other day after the series against the Warriors. He's like, oh man, I've been watching them win titles since I was little. And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, like, yes. So these guys,
we forget how long ago it was,
right? But you also forget how young these guys are when they come into the league, right? Yeah. So yeah, when they were in high school, the Warriors were winning titles, right? Like, well, now they're in the NBA. Same thing. There's that picture that went around, that's gone around about Jason Tatum with LeBron James. I'm sure you've seen it when he's like 9 or 10 or something, and it's like, and Brahms already in the league at that point. Like, right? This is the next evolution. So all I'm saying is, guys, witness what's happening. And as these players make these runs to the conference finals, like your Steph Curry's, and Jimmy Butler's, who's 32, like, appreciate this, because for them to get back here again, it's not promised, no guarantees. We don't know, right? And again, this league, younger, better, these kids are coming, man. And it's just a fun time to be in the league right now and watch these young guys really try to take that crown, because that's what they're doing, right? And the LeBron generation is doing their best to hold them off. but it's like a tidal wave, right? You can only hold it off for so long, right? Eventually it comes.
It is. The talent is there, and it's fun to see these guys, grow and grow their game. I mean, to see what Ja Morant's going to do next season, I mean, geez. Yeah. But we're not there yet because we got to finish this one. So
no doubt.
Stick with us, guys. We are at the conference finals. Before you know it, we'll be crowning a champion. So stick with us every Tuesday. You guys know what's up.
As always, you know where to find us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We are part of the Props Network. We are at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli. And until next time, peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't want to trap what some man gon' do.